The title of my presentation is Understanding the Conditions of Conservation Agriculture Adoption in LANGO region in Uganda. Conservation agriculture is a farming system based on 3 principles. One is minimum tillage. The second is maintaining a permanent crop cover or mulch. And the third principle is crop rotations. Conservation agriculture has several benefits, such as improving soil health, maintaining biodiversity on the land, reducing labor for the farmer, increasing yields for the farmer. All these benefits contribute to SDG 15, which is life on land. One of the most important benefits of conservation agriculture is its ability to sink carbon in the soil. If many farmers were doing conservation agriculture, this would contribute to SDG 13 by fixing carbon in the soil, but this potential remains untapped. Many African countries are doing conservation agriculture. However, most of the conservation agriculture that is going on is way below what would be very significant. If we look at this diagram, most of it is below 10% of their total land. Our current study was carried out in Uganda. Uganda is located in the East African part of the continent, and our study site was in northern Uganda, which is very dry, and it has only one rainfall season, unlike the rest of the country, which has 2 seasons. The soils are acidic in Uganda, and they have high levels of aluminium and iron. This poses an inherent low soil fertility problem, which calls for high management. So the study has to do with understanding the reasons, the conditions for this low and slow uptake of conservation agriculture. If we are to contribute to SDG 2, fighting hunger, reducing it to 0, perhaps we have to understand why farmers are not taking up CA, which has a very high potential of increasing yields. Our study was based on 2 frameworks. One of the frameworks is the multi-level perspective. This looks at conditions at the global landscape. Then we have the societal traditional way of doing things, what is going on at the moment, and then looking at CA as a niche. The second framework was the QATOCA, which is the qualitative expert assessment tool. It's based on theories, models, and has a series of questions that can be answered by different experts. So our data was made of 4 sources. We had semi-qualitative surveys for over 400 households. We interviewed key informants. We also had discussions with several people, at least 52 participants at the village level. We also looked at fields. Our study showed 2 important factors amongst others. One has to do with how information is disseminated to these communities, to these farmers. And obviously the problem has to do with markets. Because CA increases the yields, there has to be a matching market to meet the efforts of the farmers so that they can benefit from their efforts. However, things like social structures in the communities are very evident, and these also affect the uptake of conservation agriculture. If you look at this picture, women are behind and the men are in front. That shows a divide between these 2 sets of gender. There's a bit of inequality. However, both groups, the male and the female, both said that they have to increase, they need access to tools. And this is very important because we have an old farming generation, but then we also have an incoming generation of young farmers. So if farming is to be attractive to both groups, tools are part of the deal. Study showed that 70% of the participants invest between $20 to $50 per season per hectare. This is very minimal, it's very meager if we are to get a significant output of yields from their land. And this has to do with economic growth. The other thing has to do with gender. gender equality. In this part of the country, women do not own land. Very few women own land because of the social structure. So it is very difficult for the women to make investments on land which is not theirs. Infrastructure is another problem. There's need for building resilient infrastructure. This includes storage facilities such as bulking centers. Power is also a problem. Most of the farmers are using generators, but not many can afford them to, for example, husk their maize and other produce. Sustainable mechanization is another one. If we are to leave no one behind, some tools are really outdated and they need to be replaced with appropriate tools. And then the other thing is providing lifelong learning opportunities, women and men in the fields speaking the language that they understand. So in conclusion, there's not a single bullet for increasing uptake of conservation agriculture. However, many factors have to be looked at. That is the technology, the research, the agri-machinery, trade, joint ventures, and other factors which are important for the uptake of conservation agriculture in northern Uganda. Thank you.